Through this presentation, I want to explain what is global studies. In order to understand global studies, we have to contrast it to international studies. So, what is this contrast between global studies and international studies? When we say international studies, it means the idea of boundaries, or what we call as nation states. So, aspects such as foreign policy or problems within the boundaries of a country, they all can be accounted for in international studies. On the other hand, global studies, it makes itself distinct by removing the ideas of boundaries, or what we may call nation states. So, in this sense, it is transnational. It moves beyond the boundaries of the nation. And the emphasis in global studies is on globalization, is on understanding change, on understanding global trends, and how these may impact people differently. It is about making comparisons between different regions of the world. And finally, it also means viewing global issues with a more humane and holistic approach. That's how scholars distinguish between international studies and global studies. However, a lot of people use these interchangeably, but there is this slight distinction that needs to be made when we are talking about these two areas of study. Now, the question is, why take up a course on global studies? The idea is that you take up a course in global studies to become a global citizen. So, who is a global citizen? A global citizen is somebody who thinks from the perspective of everyone, okay? Who can take into account the views of all the people on different sides of the debate, is very open to new ideas. The question is, why do we need such a person? We need someone like that because issues no longer just affect people of one country. If you look at issues of environment, trade, terrorism, migration, these are issues that affect everyone. Environment, for instance, people in the US are affected by global warming. People in Africa are affected because water levels may be going down even further. Terrorism is also a good example because, again, what happens in the Arab world, the wars, the conflicts, and so on, it affects not only the people there, but also the people in America, in Europe. So, we are no longer immune to what's happening in other parts of the world. And then, of course, as a global citizen, what it entails is a responsibility. It becomes our responsibility too to deal with global issues, to address them. So it is about becoming cosmopolitan. Who is a cosmopolitan? A person who's very aware of the world, the other parts of the world, the regions. And a cosmopolitan helps us in being cosmopolitan helps us in being a global citizen. So, how do we go about doing that? What does it mean to be a global citizen? We need to observe ourselves and the world. So, it's both an inward looking process and an outward looking approach. It is about comparing and contrasting, it is about using the comparative approach. It is about being open to understand multiple and different viewpoints, about being being able to accept those. We have to understand that there are multiple realities and there's not just one reality. We also have to think that while becoming a global citizen, we cannot dismiss our other identities. It is about coming to terms with these multiple identities, recognizing, dealing with them in our attempt to become global citizens. In other words, you cannot negate that you are citizens of a particular um, country while you're trying to be a citizen of the world. So you need to recognize that and address the problems from a bigger perspective than just your own national identity. So we looked at three aspects. One, what is global studies and how is it different from international studies? Two, who is a global citizen and why is it important to be a global citizen? And three, how can one develop oneself to become a global citizen? Now, I want you to do this map exercise. When you click on the next link in Moodle, you should be able to access the map exercise handout. The exercise is that on a map, you have to locate the different countries that you will be reading about during this course. This is just to refresh your memory and should take about 15 minutes to complete this exercise. After completing the exercise, uh, please do a self-check to see whether you got the countries right or wrong on the map. I'm hoping you would want to share your results with me. I would love to hear whether you got the countries right or wrong. So please let me know.